Warm-ups are useless. And what do I mean by this? Obviously, I do not mean that warm-ups in totality is useless. The way warm-ups are executed lately is very annoying to me because one, it's super boring, and two, I don't think it accomplishes as much as people think it does. So here are a few ways that you can improve your warm-up and do a better warm-up, and how I think you should look at warm-ups. So, first of all, let's get something out of the way that bothers me about warm ups. And the number one thing that bothers me about warm ups is that people think an injury that occurs during a practice or during a game is all down to whether or not your warm up was good enough. And that is honestly just not true, and is something that needs to die out, because honestly, it is so bad, this idea, that I've heard someone who stayed out of sport for, I think it was 2 years, came back into sport, immediately came into like a full contact training, and like in the first, I think, sprint or something, they like tore their hamstring. And their immediate reaction was, oh geez, I just didn't warm up correctly. That is my whole problem with it. Honestly, a non-contact injury like that is honestly more reflection on your level of preparedness than it is of how good your warm-up was or not. And at the end of the day, that is something that a lot of people mistake it for, is that everyone thinks your warm-up means everything. If you are well prepared for a certain activity, then you are less likely to get an injury. And if you're not, then vice versa, then you are more likely to get injured in that activity. It really doesn't have a lot to do with how you warm up, and warming up cannot make up for bad level of preparedness. So that is something that people need to get in there. Just because you come earlier to your practice and you do a 20-minute warm up doesn't mean you'll be all of a sudden prepared for the demands of your sport. And that is something you need to get into your head, because people need to understand that if I injure my hamstring and it's a reoccurring injury the whole time because I'm sprinting, every time I sprint, I hurt my hamstring. Well, it's probably not because your warm up is shit. It's probably because you don't sprint enough and you're not prepared enough for sprinting. Honestly, I think warm ups sometimes become this boring thing that everyone kind of just wants to get over. And I think there's other ways that you can do warm up so it gives more value. When it's something that you want to rush over and don't really want to do, it kind of even takes the entire thing away, because a warm up is just a short activity you do pre your intense exercise, and it gets you ready for that intense exercise. So here are a few things that you can add into your warm up that I think will benefit you way more and will just get you more ready and better for the actual activity you want to do. Number one is doing actual meaningful work in your warm up. So if you're someone that skips a lot of accessories, like for example, groin work, calf work, or any type of thing like that, and you have something that you want to work on, something that, for example, for me, there will be a lot of extension type of exercises. If that is something you skip in your workout, then I would recommend putting that in your warm up and working on it in there and making it something that
Squeeze,
you
squeeze,
actually
squeeze.
need to work on, and then you put it in your warm up, because you know it won't be skipped, and serve as a general prep for your movement to come. So if you're going to choose movements that will actually benefit you. Don't just try and go through a list of people say you need to do lunges, people say you need to do this, people say, don't go through that. Just do exercise that you know you need to do for example, your shoulders. Maybe you have a whole list of shoulder accessories that you want to do, but you always skip out on. Do a few of them in your warm up. That is one of the best tips that I can do. For me, that is a lot of extension work. Like I said previously, I do that in my warm ups because it's something I neglect in my session, and it doesn't take long. I do 1 or 2 sets of an exercise, and then I have ticked the box that I want to work on. Number two is try and tick more than one box within your warm up. Something like this will be trying to raise your core temperature of your body. And for me, that is plyometrics. So low level plyometrics like extensive pogo series are a great warm up tool before you sprint and before you run, because you get to tick off number one, your plyometrics. So you have some type of plyometrics in for your workout. So you have that. So you tick that box, and you also have a bit of a warm up, because plyometrics in nature, because your central nervous system starts to really activate and get going, you start to get warm. So you raise your core body temp. And that is basically ticking two boxes with one exercise. So I like to use plyometrics in my warm-ups. I like to use some type of movement where I'm moving a bit faster. You can start it even as a lower extensive type of thing, so really lower, and then build it up to a more intense type of thing, and then go over to your sprinting if you want. But that is an example of something that gets you warm and also ticks another box for explosiveness, for maybe a nice little dose of plyometrics. And this can also be used in your upper body day. So you can do before your bench and stuff, you can do some light med ball throws, doing them fast. You tick more than one box because you get that explosive type of work, and you also get a warm up out of it. Another one like this also is isometrics. This also falls into that box. If you do long isometrics, like for example, a split iso lunge, you'll also see that your body temp will raise if you push it far enough. And also you get a good benefit for your tendons, because tendons love isometrics and it's good for them. Three is a very underrated one that a lot of people skip over, and that is doing an activity that enhances cognitive alertness or awareness. This is super important, maybe before even a game that you're going to play. Or if you just have a normal workout, it's super fun to do this type of warm up. And I do this a lot with my youth athletes, sometimes even with my older athletes, because it drives a lot of intent for the session. This could be literally any type of small sided game, any type of small sided challenge, preferably not something too intense, because it still has to be kind of your warm up. And if you're more than one athlete and you're like doing with a friend, it could be something that drives a bit of a competition as well. So this could be anything like smash ball, which is super fun as well. And the type of intent it drives, it really makes you more cognitively aware and alert. And also it drives intent because it's fun. So you kind of set up the session for a really nice way of starting it by having something fun at the beginning. So athletes might feel more inclined to really go and push in the session because they are ready, they are alert. You don't always have to include all three stuff in warm up, but most of the time my warm ups do include kind of like all three. Sometimes you can do stuff that kind of or exercises or games that includes most of the same stuff, but you'll have to pick and choose what you need from that. I'll show, obviously through the video, you saw some examples of what I do, and this is why I think warm-ups can be utilized to be more beneficial for us. The way they are done now are very boring, they're very static, and people don't like them. If you can make the warm-ups more likable, you can make it more fun, more people will actually want to do them, and at the end of the day, you'll benefit from the warm-up. That is all I have for today. Thank you for watching.